Drenched in sweat and shame, Cairo sat in his cramped apartment, the silence screaming louder than any critic ever had. A half-eaten burger lay forgotten on the table, his gym bag gathering dust in the corner. The man in the mirror looked older than his 28 years, not because of time, but because of disappointment. His eyes were hollow, dulled by the weight of years spent hiding behind excuses, fear, and comfort. He knew what he had become, a ghost of potential, a man with a lion's heart trapped in a lamb's life. That night, something inside him snapped. The voice he had always silenced rose, feral, furious, demanding change. Enough, it growled. No more waiting for motivation, no more clinging to the lie that life owed him success. He punched the mirror, glass shattering like the facade he'd built around his weakness. It was time to kill the version of himself that settled. Time to burn the mask. Not for revenge, not for applause, but to finally face the man he was meant to be. The next morning was no epiphany. His knuckles throbbed, his body ached. But Cairo didn't wait for comfort. He ran, lungs gasping, legs screaming, until his weakness began to bleed out with every step. The old version of him begged for rest, whispered lies of failure, but Cairo ran harder. Each mile was a nail in that old self's coffin. Weakness wasn't leaving quietly. It clawed at him, cried out for mercy. But Cairo gave none. Mercy was for the man he used to be. This was war. When he finally collapsed on the grass, he didn't feel shame, only fire. He didn't need cheers or validation. He needed discipline. That morning was his funeral for weakness, and nobody showed up to mourn. He realized then that greatness doesn't arrive. It is forged. He would rise not because he felt ready, but because the man he wanted to be would never rise if he waited for perfection. He chose pain. He chose purpose. He chose power. Day by day, Cairo's life became a battlefield. The alarm clock became his enemy, and the cold shower his initiation. The gym wasn't just a building anymore. It was a forge. Every weight he lifted tore at his old limits. Every rejection he faced built new resilience. The more it hurt, the more alive he felt. Discomfort stopped being a punishment. It became his proof. Proof that he was evolving. Old friends drifted away. "You're obsessed," they scoffed. But obsession was just another word for commitment they never had. Cairo no longer explained himself. He didn't have time for distractions, drama, or doubt. Weakness offered him 1,000 exits, but he slammed every door shut. He understood now. Comfort kills more dreams than failure ever could. So, he rejected it. He craved struggle, because in the storm, he was becoming unstoppable. Failures still came, plenty of them. He bombed interviews, got passed up for promotions, lost people he thought he needed. But he didn't collapse. Every setback became fuel. The fire inside him was too fierce to be extinguished by momentary defeat. When others crumbled, he endured. Not because he was unbreakable, but because he refused to stay broken. He rose from every fall, not as he was, but as someone stronger. He wrote goals on his walls. He read every morning. He trained like a man preparing for war. Each scar, each aching muscle, each late night. They weren't burdens. They were proof that he was writing a legacy, not in ink, but in sweat and grit. He was no longer surviving. He was conquering. And he understood now, pain isn't punishment. It's the price of power. 1 year later, Cairo stood on a stage, not for fame, but to speak the truth. The room was filled with men who were where he had once been, broken, afraid, lost. He didn't preach. He shared his scars. "You're not weak because you failed," he said. "You're weak because you keep choosing comfort over change." His voice was steel. His story, unpolished and raw, ignited something in the crowd. He looked into the mirror again that night, and this time he didn't flinch. The man staring back had earned his pride. He had killed his excuses, buried his weakness, and built himself brick by brick through discipline, pain, and relentless purpose. He wasn't done. Greatness was a daily war, but now he was winning, and he would keep winning. Because he knew, the world doesn't remember average, It remembers warriors, and Cairo had finally become one.